Violet Evergarden, an anime that captured the imagination of those who watched its trailer, and the trailer dared to ask us, why is there a cute girl flying through the air with a great axe? What does this have to do with writing letters? Why is there so many particle effects? I can't see anything. Will there ever be a Spice and Wolf Season 3? And of course, why do I have an erection? These are just some of the questions that Violet Evergarden's trailer asked us. And now, after the series has finished, we are ready to respond to our overlords, Kyoto Animation Animu Studio Supreme Burrito. Let's review Violet Evergarden. The Great War finally came to an end after 4 long years of conflict. Fractured in two, the continent of Telesis slowly began to flourish once again. Caught up in bloodshed was Violet Evergarden, a young girl raised for the sole purpose of decimating enemy lines. Hospitalized and maimed in a bloody skirmish during the war's final leg, she was left with only words from the person she held dearest, but with no understanding of their meaning. Recovering from her wounds, Violet starts a new life working at CH Postal Services after a falling out with her new intended guardian family. There, she witnesses by pure chance the work of an auto-memory doll, amanuenses that transcribe people's thoughts and feelings into words on paper. Moved by the notion, Violet begins work as an auto-memory doll, a trade that will take her on an adventure, one that will reshape the lives of her clients and hopefully lead to self-discovery. This anime is based off the light novel of the same name, released in 2015 and finished in 2016 by Kana Akatsuki and Akiko Takase. This series was adapted into an anime by Kyoto Animation, who are known for, well, if you don't know who Kyo Ani are, then they're known for Clannad After Story, Koe no Katachi, K-On!, and Full Metal Panic. The anime is directed by Taichi Ishidare, who has directed Kyokai na Kanata, and that's about it. Although he has worked on many other anime from Kyoto Animation, this is only his second director's job for the company. As for the anime, it's another Netflix exclusive in the pursuit of original Japanese anime for their platform. This also being one of the best examples of the potential of hiring studios to make anime for the platform. This is also the anime that started the infamous "Netflix is the savior of anime" phrase, which has been pretty much mocked by the whole community and a lot of people who cover anime and those within the industry.
What's the matter?
It's your eyes. It's the same color as your eyes.
Violet Evergarden's story is really the only problem I have with this show as a whole. If everything else is a 10 out of 10, then the story is a 7 out of 10. I felt the series by the end just never came together no matter how hard it tried. I can also say there were no bad episodes in the series, but at the same time I felt there were some episodes that didn't flow well and were not really even necessary in the grand scheme of the series. As much as I liked episode 3, it was slow, unnecessary later on, it felt like filler. Beautiful filler, but filler nonetheless. The general lack of cohesiveness also hurt the ending of the show too, and obviously no spoilers, but the last 2 episodes just felt lacking in some ways. I think comparing the ending of Violet Evergarden to another anime that aired the same season it aired in, The Ancient Magus' Bride, in terms of the issues they have in their last episodes, is the best way to understand what I'm about to talk about. Both series had issues where their final episodes were good episodes, but never felt like a finale. Granted, Violet's felt way more like finale than Magus' Bride did, but this show still felt somewhat too open-ended. This also kind of brings up another point I disliked about the story, and that's how every single episode besides the last 2 felt completely interchangeable, and even then, you could kind of do that for the last 2 episodes as well, if you really wanted to try. This made the show even more episodic when it felt like the story wasn't going for an episodic series. You could easily say, for example, episode 5 takes place after episode 7, and I would believe you. The through line in this anime just felt non-existent.
Major Gilbert, I've been in the hospital for 120 days now. My strength has almost recovered. Movement is still a little difficult.
So the characters is also another aspect where the show stumbles with its story, but not as badly. So the only character you need to really know about is Violet Evergarden. This show is about her only, and to expect any kind of development from anyone else would be a little odd. But here is the thing. They totally should have focused on other characters as well. They kind of did at the beginning of the series, granted, but the problem with that was that we knew those characters wouldn't be involved in any of the other episodes. episodes. The best development they had in this show for a secondary character was episodes 5 to 11. As an example, I will talk about the pond episode. If you know what that means, then you know what that means. In this episode, Violet meets a writer, and this writer is developed very well, and so much so, I thought we'd see this character do a little bit more later on in the series. But by the next episode, this character was tucked away and forgotten about. The only characters who show back up in any meaningful way is Hodgins and Catalia. These characters do something for Violet that affects her, and it may be the smallest of ways, but it's still there. And yeah, we do get cameos from Luculia throughout, but her cameos are somewhat meaningless. I understand these characters popping back up is supposed to show how Violet has grown, but in the case of Luculia, I was kind of more interested in what Luculia was doing sometimes. It seems she also went on a journey of her own that honestly, in some ways, was more interesting than Violet's. Characters and their characterizations aren't the strongest in the series, and that's because it just doesn't do enough to be anything that stands out as great.
The Major? Where's Major Gilbert?
He's not here.
Where is he? Did he return home already?
Violet Evergarden may be one of the best looking anime of all time when it comes to its art. Kyoto Animation put so much effort and detail into this anime, from the backgrounds to the character designs to even the small amounts of CGI used throughout. A good example of how great this anime looks is episode 1 actually. This episode is a good representation of what you'll be getting throughout the rest of the series. And my first example, of course, is the Evergarden Estate. It's a beautiful mansion with lush shrubbery, bright green, neatly cut grass, and a gate at the entrance. And as a bonus, there are vines growing up the side of the building. This is just a taste of what this series truly can do. Even the interior of the estate is meticulously detailed down to what's on the dining table. This anime's beauty is its attention to detail. But of course, we cannot forget the character designs either. Our main character, Violet Evergarden, may have one of the most beautiful outfits in all of recent anime. To say that it is not must either mean you have no soul or you're probably blind. More examples are the other auto memory dolls who look just as exquisite as Violet, which I think is pretty cool. These characters aren't important to the story, but I'll be damned if each and every one of them can't have their own spin-offs just from the way they look. These character designs just look so damn good, and I can't get over the fact that they actually exist. If I am to make a bold statement, I think the designs for this anime are currently the best designed characters that Kyoto Animation has ever done, and they're coming off the heels of Koe no Katachi and Dragon Maid, which is even more impressive.
Tell me, is the Major actually alive?
Well, he's...
You're being discharged from the hospital.
So, Kyoto Animation, I'm sure, made a deal with the devil with this anime. It's just so well animated that it's hard to believe this really isn't just real life we're watching. An example of how well this show is animated is a very small scene in the show, and that's when Benedict is talking to Violet Evergarden in the first episode, and he simply makes a request, just to take off her gloves. This scene is so inconsequential in many ways, but it's not in the way that it's animated. You see, the gloves wrinkle and change shape fluidly as it comes off her metal hands. Not only that, but her clothes move as her body moves, and even her hair moves naturally with those movements as well. This little transitional shot, blew my tiny human brain into tiny little human brain pieces. This is an anime that will make you forget you're watching an anime from a visual perspective. It's almost photorealistic at times.
You have to live and be free.
Now, this anime does have its faults. An example being Violet feeling like a floaty character when she's fighting. No spoilers, but we get flashbacks to Violet's past and we get to see her do battle. She's excellent at warring, there's no doubt about that, but she's also animated in such a way that reminds me of Naruto, shout out to Abi for that, or other anime that do ridiculous fighting in it like other shonen. This took me out of the show because every other element is animated so beautifully and has a weight to it. Even characters walking and moving around around have a tremendous sense of realism. And that's not to say the floaty action isn't good. It's freaking awesome. And if KyoAni made a shonen, then it would be the best shonen around. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't fit in this anime, and it's also bad writing in a way too. It makes War seem almost cartoonish and her character almost alien in her reflexes with her insane speed and agility. I'm not saying that this in theory couldn't happen, but with the way this anime was presented, it was just way too hard to believe and broke that sense of realism it prided itself on conveying at times. Then again though, Violet Evergarden can control her individual metal arm fingers, so who knows? I could be wrong.
There it is. The Port of Leiden.
Violet Evergarden's score is by Evan Call, who has scored Big Order, shout out to Rising Sun Reviews, Tokyo ESP, and many more, believe it or not. And I'm not too familiar with his work, but I would say this is some of his best already. One of my favorite scenes in terms of score is a scene where Violet has a confrontation on a bridge with some random guy. Not even kidding with that. This scene's music was so well done because as we're seeing this beautiful bridge with water flowing under it, there is this music that is perfectly conveying the emotions of the scene and Violet Evergarden herself, but also slowly builds up to it. This is obviously done by a person who took extreme care when handling the score, until those action scenes. Yep, it seems this series really takes a nosedive when action is involved. Something about those songs and the action scenes felt bland and uninspired to me, like it was just going through the motions. But virtually everything else in the score is full of quality music and is timed very well. So I can give it the slide on that.
Violet. And this is the lady of the Evergarden household. You can say hello.
Initially, I disliked this dub quite a bit and thought it was poor, but after a second watch, I watched this series both in Japanese and English, as just a side note, I changed my mind on the dub. While it may not be the greatest dub ever, it's a good dub. The voice acting is very, very good and conveys the emotions of the script very well. But if you ask me what I prefer, to be honest, I prefer the Japanese version. And it's not because I hate dubs or anything. I personally think that the people who hate dubs just because it's a dub are ignorant. I honestly just prefer the performances and voices in the Japanese version. Something about Violet's voice actress in Japanese is very gratifying to the ear. And that's saying a lot because Erica Harlacker's performance in the English version is tremendous.
I'm sorry. Don't force yourself. Oh no! You'll get burned!
Violet Evergarden is a technical powerhouse, boasting some of the best visuals in anime of all time. But sadly, the story and the characters are flawed and hold the series back from becoming something truly special. Right now, this anime is a showcase of how great KyoAni is and how far they can push this medium. But is this one of their best anime? Probably not, sadly. There are anime that have better stories and are better put together. Hyoka is one that comes to mind. But I do also think this anime is a must-watch for any fan of anime out there right now that's watching this. I feel this is something so visually and technically perfect that you just can't miss out on it. Violet Evergarden gets an 8 out of 10.
If he doesn't need me anymore, then I should be discarded. Please do it. Please discard me somewhere.
And you know, I just mentioned Hyoka, but I think there's a lot you can take away from Violet Evergarden and Hyoka. Both series boast these awesome technical aspects to them. Hyoka is another anime just like Violet Evergarden, made by Kyoto Animation. If you haven't heard of Hyoka, you have to go check out my review right now. It's a 50-minute review. I go crazy in depth. And also, I was in a podcast as well over on Visual Evaluations channel, so go check that out as well. We also break down the podcast from multiple different perspectives. But before Violet Evergarden, there was Hyoka. Hyoka is basically another technical powerhouse anime, but it also boasts a very awesome story and very well-written characters, something that Violet Evergarden kind of lacked in. So if you want a story that has the technical aspects of Violet, but with better overall writing and pacing, go check out Hyoka. It's 22 episodes of anime goodness. I still can't believe how many people don't know about Hyoka. It's just fantastic. But I have to ask you guys, guys, what did you think about Violet Evergarden? From episodes 5 to 11, I thought this was going to be my anime of the year, anime of the season, anime of the century. But, I don't know, episodes 2 to 4 and episodes 12 and 13 didn't do as much as I wanted them to do for me, and because of that, I landed on this 8 out of 10 score. In fact, I think right now it is still tied with After the Rain for best anime of the season and best anime of the year. And if you haven't already, check out my Violet Evergarden. And if you haven't already, check out my After the Rain review. It's an anime you also can't miss for the world. It is fantastic. But now I have to ask you guys a question, and that is, what did you think about Violet Evergarden? And what did you think about this review? Did my review help you decide to watch this anime, or did it not? Put down in the comments below. Also, if you've watched Violet Evergarden, what do you think about the series? And also, if you haven't watched the series and are by chance watching this review, what are your initial thoughts from just seeing it? I'm really curious to hear what people think about it. And as well, what do you guys think about those trailers that came out before ahead of the series? Because I've seen a lot of controversy with people saying stuff like, well, the trailers promised this and that, and I brung up at the very beginning of the video that battle axe, where she's like using a battle axe, flying through particles and stuff like that. Yeah, that's an awesome trailer. I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Was that misleading? Was that in bad taste? I don't know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Also, before you go, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. I've told you guys a million times what doing the bell icon does, but I'll just tell you one more. The bell icon is basically a second subscribe button. But if you just hit the subscribe button, there is a chance that YouTube will not notify you of me uploading my videos. Hit the bell icon and hit the checkbox. It would mean a lot to me. It basically means that you will get all notifications from me whenever I upload a review or a first impressions video on seasonal anime, which I do. So thank you guys for watching the video. I appreciate all the support you give me. I hope you enjoyed Violet Evergarden. I certainly did. I'll see you later.